So why write this book? Well, what were the reasons for writing these poems when you did? What inspired you?
Well, thank you. I started writing this book about 2 weeks after the November presidential election in 2016. I was grieving. I was stunned. I had followed the entire campaign, which I think was like a couple of years long. I was in despair, not just because, my candidate lost, but because of what I felt was going to be very, very terrible for our nation. So I tried to make sense of it. I wanted to try to understand why our nation, which I love, how did we get to this point? I mean, what were people thinking? I mean, what did we do wrong? It was an effort at trying to understand. It was an effort at achieving some sort of catharsis, because the other thing I did is I picked up a book I had read long before, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. It's an iconic book. It's about the 5 stages of grief and loss not just meaning death. And so I reread that book, and it helped me to understand. It helped me to understand what the road ahead was, not just for myself, but for a lot of people that I knew that were grieving and that were frightened, that were anxious. The road ahead, what do we have to look forward to? What is it going to be like? And so I summarized in a poem each of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages. And that actually became the framework for my book. So this book is written in 5 sections, and each section deals with the losses. First of all, it's denial. No, this didn't happen. Then comes anger. How could this have happened? Then comes negotiating. Dear God, anyone, I'll do whatever it takes not to let this happen. And then comes depression, when it's like, gosh, I've tried all those other things, and here we are. And it's not getting better. And that's one of the hardest parts. And then at the very end comes acceptance, which doesn't mean happiness, but it basically means it is what it is. We're not going back. And so those are the 5 sections of the book. And tonight you will hear a poem that is from one of those sections, the middle one, called Negotiating, when a person is very, very desperate. So it was an attempt to learn and to feel better, to understand. And I love the process, and I worked on it for a year, up through November of 2017. And then being an educator in my heart, I hope never to lose that. I wanted to help other people to understand, and to understand issues. And it's actually a very factually based book. You'll see footnotes all the way through. So let's understand. Let's heal together, let's grow together, let's move forward together, were my basic goals.
Right, actually that leads me to you talked about the book's framework, and one of the things I was really curious about, before I ask the last question, is your decision to use multiple voices. In other words, there's so many characters telling stories, and in terms of thinking about the 5 stages of dealing with grief and loss, often we think of that as an individual, isolating kind of process, but you tell it as a collective, national process. Can you say a little bit about that?
Thank you for seeing that, because I tried to do that. I knew that the angst that I was trying to document, trying to express, was not just the angst of one human being. It was the angst of millions and millions and millions of Americans from all spectrum. So I felt that whatever I learned, whether it was about healthcare, whether it was about dreamers, immigration, the war, our environment, because I was doing research and reading about these things every single day, I wanted to try to see those issues from the eyes, from the perspective of other people who were living those issues, who were most impacted, who were struggling with those issues. So I tried, walk a mile in my moccasins. I tried to put myself into the shoes and the mindset of people who might be experiencing those things, and try to express those particular feelings and issues as they might have expressed them.
Finally, the last question is the relevance for 2018. This book is launched on the one-year anniversary of this devastating disaster, but it's also, about moving ahead. So what is the relevance for 2018 for you?
I believe, as our previous president did, President Barack Obama, I think he's been saying this, and I think he truly believed this. He believed in the power of the people. And he believed that the people generally know what's right. The people know what to do the right thing. And I also subscribe to that notion. So I believe that as long as we stay engaged, people are woke. To use a term from today, people are woke. And I think it is that aspect and the greater involvement of women and people who have been disenfranchised in the past. So I am actually upbeat about 2018.
Right, that's why people cannot leave here without copies of this book. So make sure you do that. Thank you so much.